advocacy programs. I find myself at pro-Israel rallies and AIPAC events, AIPAC, which is an American Israel Public Affairs Committee. And in fact, I've done extensive work with my Israel advocacy that AIPAC is chose me as one of the few high school students to attend a seminar in the beginning of January, mainly for college students in DC, and so it's completely free, and they'll fly me to that. So, one of the things that, like I said, my brother was in CIVITAS, and I always had an interest in politics. I knew I wanted to go in that direction, that field. But during the 2008 election, when I was an 8th grader, I called myself a Democrat. I said that I supported Senator Barack Obama, but I wasn't exactly sure why. I keep hearing change and hope and gone with the Bush administration. We don't need another 8 years like they were saying Senator McCain would bring us in. And my brother, as I said, he's a Republican, he started watching Fox News. And I would come home and see him on with the television, and I'd see Hannity, I'd see Bill O'Reilly, and I was very confused, and I started thinking to myself, why is it that I say I want Barack Obama, yet I agree with the Republican Party's platform? Why is it that I did this? I was very confused, and again, I come from a very Democratic family. And so I told about this dilemma to my parents and my brother, and this is what happened. And if it happens in other families, I'm glad, because it really opened my eyes. My dad handed me this book, and if you can see it, it's James Carville's We're Right and They're Wrong. And my brother handed me this book, Sean Hannity's Let Freedom Ring, Winning the War of Liberty over Liberalism. After reading these books, and again, I was only in 8th grade, I knew that I had to continue in some sort of political direction, some sort of civic engagement where I could be with other people like myself who wanted to go beyond normal conversation, discuss controversial issues, not just the economy or healthcare, but stuff like homosexuality and abortion, stuff that we normally don't feel comfortable talking about, even at such a young age. And that's when I went to my first interview ever. And it was at Rio Americano, and I received this letter from Miss Reed congratulating me on my admission to the CIVITAS program. And from that moment on, I knew that I was becoming a part of something greater than the normal high school student, something that was going to bring me in a direction of leadership, in a direction of connections, and in a direction of understanding who we are as global citizens. And that's what I wanted from my CIVITAS experience. And that's what I thought, I want to test this. Those three things, leadership, connections, and understanding the world. That's what I want from my experience. Now, keep that in mind for later. So, if you hadn't guessed already, I like one of the books more than another, and I returned the one I didn't like. But through CIVITAS, it's given me the opportunity to see many different perspectives. We have guest speakers. We've gone to lectures. Just this past Tuesday, I was fortunate enough to see President Bill Clinton speak at Memorial Auditorium, and I was fortunate to be one of the few students who was interviewed by KCRA3 and actually made the 10 and 11 o'clock news. And one of the things that President Clinton touched upon that I took very personally was that the moderator asked him, what advice would you give to children who are interested in a career in politics? And what he said was, if you want to be in politics, you have to be with people who are different from you. I took this very personally because the very first thing that came to my mind was in the first week of school, of entering high school, Miss Reed had our CIVITAS class go outside and physically stand next to one another by order of where you fall on the political spectrum, from left to right. And again, these were people that I had just met. It was the first week of school, and I had no idea what their political beliefs were. But we would talk to each other. We had maybe a minute and a half to 2 minutes to decide where on the political spectrum we stood. And I realized that I realized that I'm going to be with people who I don't agree with, who I may not even like, but you know what? We're all here for a common purpose. We all want to develop the skills to become effective leaders, to understand what's happening in the world, and understand each other, understand why a person says a certain thing, understand why you say what you say, and why they say what they say, and how you can refute what they say. And when I heard President Clinton talk about being with people who are different from you, that immediately came to my mind, and I thought for my senior project, I wanted to do something for the school. I asked myself, by the way, what my senior project was a roundtable discussion on the presidential election. I thought to myself, what is that people want? What's going to be attention grabbing? And what event will end with a true impact? Being a part of the CIVITAS Academy, we're fortunate enough to bring in guest speakers almost every month. I remember in our state and local government course, we had City Council member Phil Cerna speak. We had legislative office members speak. I, in fact, brought an Israeli soldier to speak for an international relations class. And we have this opportunity to hear from different perspectives, hear alternative viewpoints, things that, as President Clinton say, if you're an audience member and you're more hostile, you may not like them. You may not like the person you're hearing from. But it's educational, and that's the point. That's what I wanted to bring to the Rio community. With the exception of my AP biology class, I've not been in a single class here at Rio that has had a guest speaker. And so what I did, I thought, well, everyone, whether they are interested in politics or not, they're going to be paying somewhat attention to the election because they're going to be voting. They want to know what is their role as voters. They want to know what people will be expecting of, what they expect of the next president. So what I did was I set out to find speakers from different professionals from the Sacramento area to debate over key voter issues, and that's exactly what I did. Representing the so I brought 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, a moderator, yours truly, and we discussed 3 issues: the economy, healthcare, and I just wanted to focus on one foreign policy issue because I thought it would just go out of control if we kept going and going. So I focused on Iran. So the people that I got to represent the Democratic Party and President Barack Obama were Assembly Member Dr. Richard Pan, who I actually had the privilege of interning for this past summer. It was an amazing experience. I got to understand the process of state government more effectively. I would attend committee hearings, attend events, write for their websites, draft press releases. It was phenomenal. And because of CIVITAS, I'm thankful for that, providing me with that experience. And along with Dr. Pan, we had Chris Parker, who's the vice chair of the Sacramento County Democratic Party, to represent Barack Obama. Now, representing the Republicans, I got attorney Mark Pruner, who's the president of the California Republican County Chairmen's Association, along with being the chair of the Yolo County Republican Party, and Mr. Tom Scott, who's the executive director of the California Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, and who also has a strong record of working in political offices. He worked for George Bush Sr., along with many other local and state levels. The way that the program worked, and your moderator, of course, myself, I said to the participants in the beginning of the event that we're not here to play hardball. I'm going to be acting as part diplomat, part cop, making sure that the conversation stays civil, everyone's on topic, and that the audience has the opportunity to listen to everyone, because that's what we're about. We're about listening to the other perspective. And that's what I wanted from this event, and that's why I chose to be moderator and try not to have a Jim Lair situation. The way that the program worked is we had the 3 issue areas: the economy, healthcare, and Iran. We devoted 20 minutes for each topic. Then there was a 20-minute question period from the students. And the students, I was very surprised, they asked very productive questions. They asked questions like, in Massachusetts, they call him multiple choice Mitt. which Mitt Romney are we going to see if he's elected president? They asked, why does Obama keep raising taxes? I mean, in my opinion, that's a very Fox News answer, but still. They asked questions that I'd expect mainly CIVITAS kids to ask. And it was a very rewarding experience being able to hear these students who I normally, when I'm in my history class, they usually think of me or other CIVITAS students as the more political ones. And hearing them asking the questions, it shows that they're evolving. They're learning more about, we're making an impact as CIVITAS students on the Rio family and getting them into the real world and into the professional world and into the world of politics. And then there was 20 minutes for closing statements. Each person allocated 5 minutes. And to make this, again, talking about perspective, to make this as least biased as possible, before the event started, I conducted a coin toss to decide who would be the last to speak and who would have the last word for the audience. So overall, there were 250 students in attendance. I believe that the level of political discourse dramatically increased. One example of this was Miss Joke, who's a French teacher at the school. And I mean, I don't associate, she asked me if she could come, if her class could come. I don't associate talking much about the election in a French class, but what she said, she emailed me after the event, and she said, can I have the emails of the 4 participants so that the students could ask more follow-up questions? Seeing that email was very, I was very appreciative of that. It showed that what I did, what I set out to do, made a true impact on Rio students and really increased their involvement and their interest in the political process and the process of electing the next president. So, overall, thank you, CIVITAS. As I said before, what I wanted from my experience was to, one, gain leadership skills, and I feel that I've done that through the community service I've engaged myself in. I had the unique opportunity of acting as executive director of a West Coast branch of a national nonprofit organization called Turkeys for America, where I raise money for the local food bank for Thanksgiving. Gaining connections, and I've gone to many events. I went to the California Democratic Convention twice in 2010 and this past year in 2012, and I've been able to meet politicians. I had a dinner with Tom Torluxon. That was a very awesome experience, I guess you could say. The best way to put it. And also, as I keep talking about, to understand the other side. When I talk about how I read James Carville and Sean Hannity's book, this is what I set out to do. I set out to understand the alternative viewpoints. Why is it that I call myself this when I want to hear about other people? What is it? Is it a political issue that we're talking about, or is it a moral issue like we discussed in philosophy? Is it an issue of national interest like we talk in international relations, rather than working as a global society as an issue of national interest, or like I said before, morality? And overall, CIVITAS, it's helped me become more well-rounded, helped me gain confidence, involve myself into the community, and that's what we're here for. That's why you're here today, because we're displaying for you what we're doing to better the community. Help me, as I said before, develop connections, and lastly, strengthen character. Help me become a more better person and a society in society. So, thank you, CIVITAS. And what overall, as I said before, I had a mission. The mission with the project was to let other people hear from the different perspectives. So I give it not just a thumbs up, but I say mission accomplished. Thank you very much.
All 3 of their programs were deliberately done right before the 2 elections. We did the county election with the machines and then the statewide election from the Secretary of State's office. So we felt that way the kids would be a lot more informed when they actually did the ballots. Questions for her?
So your forum, was it during the day where teachers chose to bring the students in, or could students choose to come
Yeah,
on accord?
It was, the date was October 16th. It was actually the same day as the second presidential debate. And I had invited a number of classes. I think the total number was 8. And so I was scrambling to get 250 chairs into the library. And I can tell you, more people came. I told some people about it who I thought would be very interested. And they excused themselves from their respective classes and were in attendance at the event.
We like to think, as Noah says, that we are making an impact. Every year, our these kinds of programs that the fellows through for the school, every time we do an election thing, we get bigger. We just have more and more kids attend and are much more interested. So we're glad this is working.
I had a question. You mentioned June Lederer, and also I was curious whether the timing of your event, how it coincided with the debates on TV, and it was just mentioned was the second debate. 2 thoughts. One, your thoughts on what it was like to moderate and whether you felt you did a good job in controlling the comments. And secondly, I think it might be fair to say that someone who watched the national debates, at least I felt, especially after seeing them, all of them, that the 2 candidates seemed to be simply restating their positions, often simply contradicting each other. You're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right. And whether the debate that you presented, or the discussion, went beyond that in some way and got a little bit more into details or facts that reveal things in a better way, in your view.
Yeah, so to answer your first question about my role as the moderator, I tried to limit myself as much as possible. I gave an introduction, I gave a conclusion, and I sat at the table in between the Democrats and in between the Republicans, and I would politely tap them on the shoulder when I thought that their speaking time was up. All the participants were very polite about giving the microphone to the next person and letting the other side speak. So overall, as a moderator, I thought it was very effective. I did not have to include myself much. And when you talk about